Well, thank you guys for being here early this morning. We're thrilled to be with you today. This session run by Impact Public Schools is focused on best practices in elementary distance learning, and it's specifically designed for teachers. I'm Jen Wickens, CEO and co-founder of Impact Public Schools. I'm a former teacher, principal, school leader, founder. I've worked in charters and in districts, originally from Washington State, and most recently have been working on the design and the build of Impact Public Schools, which is the first homegrown network of public charter schools in the state. And I'm joined today by Kayla, and I'll pass it to her to do her intro.
Hi, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here today. I'm originally from the small town of Toutle, Washington, located near the base of Mount St. Helens. I've worked in the traditional and charter public sectors for the last 9 years as a teacher, school leader, instructional coach, and curriculum developer. On a personal note, I also just want to share, I know this is an incredibly challenging time to be a teacher. And I'm really seeing teachers rise to a level that some of us have never thought possible. And I hope that today we can share just a few tips that can make life a little easier on the screen. We are super excited for this PD session today. Here's our agenda. We're going to begin by telling you just a little bit about our schools. Then we'll move into our distance learning approach. We're then going to zoom in on 5 steps to building culture in the virtual classroom, because we think that that is the most important thing to get right first. Then we'll have some work time. Finally, we'll come back together for closing and next steps. As questions arise today, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll either pause to answer your question in the moment or let you know that the answer is coming up soon in the presentation. Jen, do you think we should do this part?
No, I think we can move forward.
Great.
Okay, Impact Public Schools is a local homegrown nonprofit network of public charter schools created with and for Washington State community leaders and educators. We opened our first school in Tukwila in 2018 with just 6 classrooms, and we saw tremendous results and have high parent demand with a long wait list. So we're growing to meet that demand. This fall, we opened Impact Salish C Elementary that will be located in South Seattle. And next year, we're opening Impact Commencement Bay in Tacoma. And in 2022, we'll open our Impact Renton School. We're super excited about the scholars and families who have joined us on this journey to eliminate the opportunity gap in our state. We have a clear vision at Impact that is to close that opportunity gap. Several of us have worked in districts, schools in the state and in charter schools nationally, and know that the opportunity gap can be eliminated. We are on a mission to find partners, district partners, city partners, university partners who share this vision, and to work together to eliminate our growing gap across the state. We do this because we believe firmly that Washington one day will boast a public education system that is connected, just, and vibrant. We have a 2-part mission at Impact. So our first mission is to prepare a diverse student population for success in college and to impact communities as the next generation of equity-driven leaders. And we do that through the creation of small school communities. We also have a second mission, which is to make a broader impact on public education across Washington State by advocating for public policies that close the opportunity gap. And sharing best practices like we're doing today, providing all students their right to a high quality education. We see our work this year with the Rural Alliance really aligned to this second mission, and we're eager to partner with teachers and school leaders in Central and Eastern Washington as we all face a year full of a lot of challenge. The impact model is innovative and blends 4 core components. Social emotional learning is the foundation of our model. We ensure every single child has individualized instruction every single day in reading and math. And we also believe in the importance of project-based learning. All three of those core components are wrapped around what we call a culture of positivity and joy. All four of these components can be found in both our impact at home distance learning model and our impact in the building brick and mortar model. We're going to go into more depth on these later in the presentation. We serve a very diverse student population, like many of you. 83% of our scholars are students of color, and 32% are English language learners. One thing that might be a bit different about our model, our demographic of the students we serve, is that our students speak 11 different languages at Impact, with the largest, most predominant language being Amharic. We saw with this student population really significant academic and SEL gains. 77% of scholars met their growth target in reading, and 87% met their growth target in math. That's on the NWEA National Norm Reference Assessment. And in our winter NWEA before COVID-19, our students were on track to achieve even stronger academic gap closing results. The results on the screen actually placed us in the top 5% of public charter schools nationally for our students' growth. We, like many of you, went to distance learning last spring. We're actually still in a distance learning model at Impact in this moment, though we're preparing to return to the building and run two models simultaneously, so an impact at home and an impact in the building model. We want to share with you just a high level of what our impact at home model is, because we believe there will be aspects of it that you could take immediately back to your classroom. The first is our model integrates all four of the components I just described. It's a blend of whole class, small group, and one-to-one time with students and teachers. And it's teacher-led and family supported. So there's a mix of daily synchronous instruction in literacy and math, and daily real-time feedback from teachers and peers. All of the materials that we use are sent home or provided for pickup, including what we call project kits. And we offer a structured day for those who need like a flexible option. Our scholars schedule thoughtfully weaves best practices throughout the day. Students attend learning for 3.5 hours with the teacher Monday through Thursday and 2 hours on Friday. There is both a morning and afternoon schedule. We split the day so that for a shorter day for scholars with plenty of small group instruction. That small group instruction has been really important for their learning. In addition, scholars have a list of asynchronous activities to complete throughout the week. So that's asynchronous is when the teacher is not teaching live, and complete all asynchronous activities in the other part of their school day, depending on if they're morning or afternoon, including their project-based learning, spelling and math fact practice, movement, independent reading, and a list of optional enrichment activities. So you might be wondering, how do our young scholars, so our kindergartners, navigate all the links to Zoom rooms and personalized software programs? Our team actually created a highly visual landing page using Google Sites. This looks really nice, as you can see on the screen, but this is not hard to develop. In fact, creating a Google site is free if you have the Google Suite or a Google email, and it's really actually like using Word. So encourage you to try it. It's actually something that any teacher could do for their class today. The idea is that scholars can click on their teacher's face and be taken to a visual version of their class schedule. From there, their teacher can say, put your finger on the red 10. Now click on the red fish, and that will the visuals easily guide our students Like I said, this is essentially a website just created in Google Sites. There's lots of, you can just Google how to create a Google site and it will walk you through the steps. We chose Google Sites because it's really easy for our teachers to edit. And we have Google accounts for everyone, so it was free. We also believe there are many ways that school leaders and teachers can get creative with this idea, even with just a simple Google Doc. Like if you're not interested in making a website, you could simply create a Google Doc with links. We're committed to ensuring equitable access for all students. You can see a list of how we do that every day by creating flexible schedules for families who have just different challenges that they're faced with, whether they're working at home during the day or working at night late and can't be there to supervise their children. We know that some of our families have many kids in a small space, and some of our students are actually in childcare situations. So we have created flexible schedules and have two resources that we'd like to share with you. The first is an alternative learning plan teacher guidance document. This document outlines the range of accommodations or flexible options that teachers can utilize to support families with varying schedule conflicts. And the second is a sample alternative learning plan and letter to families. This letter and agenda is sent to families who cannot attend synchronous learning, and it explains how the scholar can engage fully with distance learning. If you would like either of these resources, please just let us know in the chat or email us and we will get them to you. Now we're going to revisit the 4 core components that I mentioned briefly above, so you can see how the virtual school day plays out at Impact, and hopefully see some similarities in the work that you do with students every day, and also some things that you could take back into your classroom. Every day begins with social emotional learning during mentor time. It's the foundation of what we do. We make it a priority and are intentional about building this into a specific part of our day and also weaving it throughout the day. It is integrated in all parts of our day, so our teachers receive significant training to help scholars navigate conflicts, problem solve, deal with frustration, and celebrate one another. Our second component is individualized instruction. Every day at Impact, scholars receive targeted math and literacy instruction in small groups that help them meet their academic goals. In addition, they engage in adaptive software on the computer in order to continue their growth. Kayla and I spoke about this yesterday in the leader session, but one of our favorite adaptive software programs is Lexia. So that's for literacy. If you haven't seen it, we highly encourage you to look into it because we've seen our scholars make dramatic reading gains with it. Third component is project-based learning. PBL is also key to our model. Every day, scholars dig into real-world projects. For example, they're about to launch into election project next week, which is just super exciting. Especially designed for this year, our scholars will explore big ideas such as the history of voting in America, how the election process works, and they'll also participate in a class election. If you're interested in seeing this project or using it with your own students, please let us know in the chat and we'll send it right over to you. We would love for you to give us feedback on it, use it, and then make it stronger and send it back to us so that we can all start sharing resources. At the end of this project, students are able to demonstrate their learning in an authentic presentation. We call those showcases, and families and community come to see our scholars' work exhibited.
I just want to note that we're also hosting showcases virtually as well.
Oh yeah, so if you want to see that, please let us know and we'd love to have you join us. And if you end up having one, we would like to join yours as well. So last component is the culture of positivity. At Impact, teachers and leaders work hard to build a culture of positivity and joy. We're adapting to the new normal of distance learning and being in and out of the building and in distance learning. But while doing that, we're trying to really remember the fundamentals of a positive classroom environment that are important in either scenario. While we have made some adjustments to our culture systems, we've found that many of our previous techniques are still applicable in this new context. We're sure that you've likely found the same. Clear directions and expectations, frequent positive narration, class dojo points to celebrate joyful chants and cheers and games throughout the day help keep our students focused and keep the joy up. Impact classrooms have tremendous heart. They're full of joy and pride. And our virtual classrooms feel the exact same. They're not any different. And for the first 6 weeks of instruction, our teachers have been hyper-focused on building a culture of positivity and joy in their virtual classroom, because we know it's the first thing we have to get right, especially in the virtual setting where it's harder for scholars to really engage. Now I'm going to pass it over to Kayla.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you for letting us take you on a tour of Impact at Home. It's now time to get into some classroom-specific practices. We're going to pick up right where we left off with Jen, building a culture of positivity in our virtual classrooms. I'd like you to take a moment to read the quote on the slide. I'd like to think about your time in the classroom, presently or pre-pandemic. How has your time spent building a positive culture paid off? Right now, you might be thinking of individual students. You might be thinking of transformations that your classroom has made across the course of the year because of the time you invested to build relationships, to set clear expectations, to set goals with scholars, and build relationships with families. And we're going to talk about strategies to do all of that well today. So now that we're clear on the why, let's move into the how. We've identified 5 steps to establishing a positive culture in the virtual classroom. It may come as a surprise, but the steps are similar, very similar, to in-person teaching. It just might look a little different. Today, we'll go over each of these 5 steps in more detail. We'll see them in action by watching real classroom video and debrief together. We'd like to take this moment to thank all of our teachers who agreed to be filmed to share their practice with you. Teaching is difficult enough without a camera, and we're grateful for the vulnerability they've shown so that others can learn. Not every video will be perfect, but we do hope that those videos highlight the practices that we are going to show you today. So the first one that we'll start with, the first 5 steps, is build strong virtual relationships. The first step is to evaluate your current relationships. In the box on the left are some important questions to ask yourselves while you do this. I'll read just a few. How happy and engaged do your students seem? Have you had one-to-one conversations with every family? Do you know how they're doing generally? Have you had one-to-one conversations with each of your students? Do you know who they live with, what their interests are, and what they love and don't love about school? Have you set goals with them? How often do scholars have opportunities to share how they're doing and things from their personal life in your virtual classroom? Once you've evaluated your relationships with students, it's time to implement strategies. And this moves to the second half of the slide, box number 2. These can look many different ways, and we certainly haven't captured them all here. But a few ideas are: create joyful, consistent routines throughout the day. Ensure there are moments when scholars can share how they're doing emotionally. This one is very big right now as we experience a very challenging time in this world. Provide opportunities for student leadership and choice. Focus on 3 to 5 students each week that need additional relationship support based on your evaluation, box number 1. And for students who don't seem as connected, tally your positive and negative interactions and adjust. And now I'd like to welcome you to the Fox Family Mentor Group. Let's see how Miss Lee and Miss Fox take advantage of those first few minutes of school in the virtual classroom to build relationships while scholars trickle into the Zoom room. While you watch, we'd like you to think about what moves did you see Miss Fox and Miss Lee supporting building relationships virtually?
Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Give me a thumbs up. We're doing good? Doing okay? Yeah, awesome. So let's say, what you drinking this morning? Is it orange juice or is it coffee? Which one? Maybe just water. Are you fancy? Is it an espresso this morning? Huh? You're on mute, sweetie. I hear you trying to speak, but you're on mute. Uh-oh, and then you froze. No worries. I'll come back to you, okay? Hey, I see all these awesome faces. So happy to see everyone this morning. Whoa, Cole, how's this coffee cup? Oh, what you drinking this morning? Remember,
I'm drinking coffee.
You are so not drinking coffee. Are you drinking coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Not too much, okay? Not too much caffeine. Celeste, what was your drink this morning?
I was drinking water.
You were drinking water. Ah, that's the best. Yeah. It's always good to start the day off with water. Good for you, Celeste.
I love
So
water.
awesome.
Leslie, I saw Zanaya give 2 thumbs up when you were asking about how friends were doing. That made me so excited to see.
Also, my dad is going to take me to some fun places, and I hope this is going to be a good day because my dad is going to take me to the beach and the park, and then yesterday I get to go swimming with my baby, and my dad is going to take me to fun places, and I'm going to go to Jamaica.
Going to Jamaica? When's your trip plan? When are you going to Jamaica?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, let me know so I can get my ticket and go with you, okay? I'm joking.
But is it a long day?
Today is a long day. Today is Thursday, our long day. Yesterday was Wednesday, which was a short day for us. And then Friday, tomorrow, is our short day.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for asking. Awesome. Well, scholars, I'm so happy to see you all here this morning. You're all super accountable. The camera sees your face. You are calm. You are ready to get the day started. So excited. So, Miss Fox, I see that it's 9:05. I think we should get started with our True North.
That sounds perfect, and I can keep tracking attendance as friends come in. Leslie, would you like me to put on some chimes for True North for you this morning?
Okay. So as I mentioned, this is just the first few minutes of class. We like to give our families about a 5-minute buffer time to get logged in so we don't start any instruction right away. And during that time, well, without me telling you, I'd love to hear people in the chat. What moves did you see Miss Fox and Miss Lee make that support building relationships virtually? And if there's anything that you want to call out explicitly, you can pop it in the chat. I see Kimberly sharing that this is fantastic. Thank you so much. Focused on individuals. Yes, thanks, Glenn. You saw Naira really allow scholars to share when she'd ask them a simple question. Of course, they want to share more stories, and she just kind of let them go. Kathy welcoming and calling students by name as they entered the Zoom room. That's exactly right. Daniel said that students are recognized, absolutely. And so it was actually a pretty intentional strategy that you saw here. Miss Fox, the lead teacher, was taking attendance, probably getting the presentation ready for the day. And Miss Lee, the supporting teacher, is hyper focused on the individuals coming into the room. She's calling them by name. She's asking them what they're drinking today. She's probably even taking mental notes of how they're showing up. Do they look happy? Do they look down? So she knows who she can connect with later. What you didn't see, the next thing that we start every day, is a 3 to 5 minute mindfulness practice called True North. And that's how scholars begin every school day. And it's just a great opportunity for scholars to really get to feel present and balanced and ready to start their day. We'll hear more from the Fox family later on. So next, we're going to take a look at step number 2, establish clear computer classroom expectations. At Impact, we've created a set of expectations that scholars should follow when in the computer classroom. When creating our expectations, we made sure they were 1, clear, 2, concise, 3, sticky or memorable. We also came up with a song that makes these easy to remember for our youngest scholars. Even with older scholars, we found that using a song to teach expectations can help scholars memorize them. Creating these expectations are an important step to managing behavior in the computer classroom, because these are the same expectations that teachers can be looking for and narrating or correcting all day long. So let's see this in action. In this video, we'll see Ms. Vieta reteaching expectations for her scholars at the beginning of the school day. This is not the first time she has rolled out these expectations for scholars. This is actually weeks into school. Watch her review some important digital learning expectations in just under 4 minutes. As you watch, I'd love for you to notice, how does she make learning these expectations fun and engaging for her scholars?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, Bearcats. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. Today we get to read a new story and grow our brains even bigger. Today I want you to think about one way that you are going to show courage. Think in your head about one way you will show courage. Store it in your brain, keep it there. Put your hands back in your lap, sit up a little bit straighter, put your eyes on me. Ooh, Olivia sat up a little bit straighter. Asher has his eyes on me. Adela has her eyes on me. Her sound is off. Josh, can we keep the questions till the end? I'll ask Miss Carlson when it's your turn to share your joke, okay? Love Miss V and Miss Carlson. All right, today we're going to practice unmuting. When I say go, everyone quickly unmute. Say, Happy Wednesday, and then go back on mute. G-O, go.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Back on mute in 0. Let's check. Asher is back on mute. Sophia is back on mute. Layla is back on mute. Oh my goodness, Miss Carlson, every single one of our scholars is back on mute. I'm going to give us a class point.
Woohoo! Amazing job, scholars.
Nice job, friends. Let's keep working and earning those class points because we're working to get a special lunch with a special visitor. Say, ooh, ah. Put your hands in your lap. Sit up a little bit straighter so we're ready. Today, if you need to use the bathroom, you can always show your hands like this. We do not come off of mute when we need to use the restroom. We just make our fingers look like this. Layla, fix your body, my friend. No, thank you. All right. Right now, none of you should have to use the bathroom. We just started school, but you can ask later, and then you can show us your fingers like this when you need to. Awesome. We're going to sing our Computer Magic 5 song. I'm looking for a scholar who is sitting up so straight, has their body in perfect Computer Magic 5 already, with their hands in their lap, their eyes on the screen. Who do I see? Ooh, London is showing such excellence. She's sitting in such beautiful Magic 5. London, come off of mute. Everyone else, sing on mute at home. Are you up on mute, London?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, my turn first. Sit up straight.
Sit up straight.
Camera sees your face.
Camera sees your face.
Listen carefully.
Listen carefully.
Talk when it's your turn.
Talk when it's your turn.
Thumb at your chin.
Thumb at your chin.
Wow, London, that was such beautiful singing. Everyone send her some love. Thanks for sharing, my friend. Ms. Carlson, will you give her a dojo point for showing courage?
Yes, wonderful job, London.
Awesome. Everyone put your hands back in your lap. Sit up a little bit straighter. Let me see those beautiful faces. Ooh, I see Khaled's beautiful face. I see Asher's beautiful face. Ridwan has his beautiful face right in the middle of the screen. Excellent job, my friends. Today, we're going to talk.
Okay, let's go ahead and reflect together. How did Ms. Vieira make learning these expectations fun and engaging for scholars? I'd love to hear your ideas in the chat, or you're welcome to just come off of mute. She recognized those meeting standards in a fun way. Absolutely. And we're actually going to talk about that next, Glenn. Thank you. One thing that you may have noticed that I didn't call out specifically is that at Impact, we have normed on hand signals that we use to connect with each other, especially when we're on mute. Jen and I have probably been doing this during the presentation without even thinking, but when we send love to each other, it looks like this, and we wiggle our fingers, and we might send love to a scholar or a staff member who is going through a hard time. We might send love when we're celebrating. You can also do a silent celebration with your hands up like this by your face. You can do a me too if you agree with someone else, and add on if scholars are having a discussion and want to build on an idea. We use hand signals all the time. We use them in faculty PD, we use them, our scholars use them in classes all the time, and our teachers use them. And it's just a great way. And we use them in the classroom too. We just brought them into the virtual space to help us feel more connected. And then I see Kathy added that she repeated them several times and reinforced. Yes, absolutely. Teachers, we're broken records. That's just the way it goes. We repeat the same things and we try to repeat it the same way every time. Kimberly shared infectious. In a couple of minutes, we had 2 of the 3 adults singing along in this room. Yes, absolutely. A song is a really, really fun way. Actually, our chief academic officer who created the song from her own home has a video of her teaching the song. She hates when we share it because she's a little embarrassed, but we'd be happy to share this video too because it's super catchy. Let's move on. Okay, our next step is to provide frequent, clear directions. Precise directions is a profoundly simple technique involving giving directions in a format that clearly describes what you want in concrete terms, as opposed to giving instructions in vague and confusing terms or telling students what not to do. In schools, we may issue a lot of vague, inefficient, and unclear commands, even without realizing it. Don't get distracted, stop that, that behavior was inappropriate. They force students to guess at what you want them to do. This gray area leaves the door open to inaccurate interpretations, making it harder for students to do as you've asked, both now and in the future. Let's take a moment to review the characteristics of precise directions on the left. They are positive, again, telling what to do, not what not to do. They include MVP. In fact, sometimes we call these MVP directions: movement, voice, participation. Do scholars know how they should be moving or not moving their bodies? Do they know how loud or how quiet they should sound? And do they know what it looks like to be participating? They start with a verb or action word. They are clear and specific, and they sound like bullets, not paragraphs. They are said the same way every time. Now I'm going to read each step to using precise directions. 1, attention. Use your attention getting signal to 100% before you give the direction. We have noticed that attention getting signals are less transferable in the computer classroom because often scholars are already on mute. but you may still want to use your attention getting signal before giving the directions. 2, cue. Say each step one at a time with a cue. When I say go, quickly walk to get your journal and book club book and return to your seat and Computer Magic 5. Go. 3, model and check for understanding. For more complicated directions, model and check for understanding before asking students to follow the direction. For example, I might say, Jen, what were the directions? Can you reshare them with me? Jen, you don't have to share. 4, before you move on to the next step, get 100% by narrating. We'll talk more about narrating soon. So next we're going to see Miss Townsend, and we're going to watch Miss Townsend with some third graders just state and repeat some clear directions for scholars as she gets them set up for their literacy time.
If you see the record button, that's why. Okay, scholars, go ahead and turn to the story, Swimming to the Rock. The poem, turn to Swimming to the Rock, and hold that up in your screen. We'll look for 100% scholars, every single person having their poems right in the screen. Khalib has his, Hannah and Adam and Nahom and Eowal. 100% of you scholars, way to go. Pat yourself on the back. Put this poem right down in front of you. Okay, I see Adam putting his poem right down in front of him, and Eowal and Khalib. Now, scholars, we're going to get ready and think. Make sure your hands are free and your eyes are on me. I see Eowal's eyes on me, Khalib's eyes. I want 100% scholars' eyes on me. Nahom's eyes are on me. Hannah's eyes are on me. I'm going to give every single one of you a dojo point for having your materials ready to go. You guys are so fast. All right, Adam, make sure your eyes are on me so I know you're ready to start. Scholars, we've been reading Swimming to the Rock. Adam, waiting for you. You got this. Eyes on me. There you go. We've been reading Swimming to the Rock. We're going to reread the poem one time through this morning, and then we're going to get a chance to start focusing on the literal meaning of the poem. So scholars, you have about 1 minute to reread the poem. Ready, set, go. 1 minute. I see Nahom rereading and Hannah rereading.
Okay, let's pause to reflect. Miss Townsend gave some very clear directions. You heard her repeat a few of them a couple times. So the question is, how does Miss Townsend state and repeat clear directions for scholars, or what generally did you see that was effective? You can come off of mute or pop your ideas into the chat. Positive narration helps set clear expectations for scholars in a positive way. Yep, and we're going to talk more about the specific narration aspect of what we saw in just a moment. Miss Townsend made her directions very short. Eyes on me, and she repeated it multiple times. Put your paper in the screen, and the papers came up, and she modeled that for scholars. This is exactly what I want to see, and they did it with her. Students heard the directions stated clearly and modeled exactly. Glenn, thanks. It's like you just echoed exactly what I said. Awesome. I also want to point out that when Miss Townsend came to Impact just a year ago, she would have said this was her biggest area of growth. The idea that she's now our model for what frequent clear directions shows how fast a teacher can make this kind of growth. She is an incredible teacher. We're so lucky to have her. Okay, we've already seen so much of this happening because this is just our teachers live and breathe positive narration, but we're going to talk about it more explicitly. Positive narration is the simple act of pointing out students who are following your directions before you point out any students who are not. Positive narration has incredible benefits to creating a classroom where 100% of students are following classroom norms. A few benefits of positive narration. First, it's simple. It allows students to hear instructions multiple times. It focuses the classroom attention on the students following directions. It increases the ratio of positive interactions that teachers are always trying to achieve. And most of all, it supports teachers in achieving 100% on-task behavior. So how do you do it? It's super simple. After giving a direction, scan the room and narrate students who are following part of the direction using the exact language. Example, Elle is silent. Samir is sitting straight and tall. A few things to remember. Keep your wording consistent. Always narrate the same way. When you're narrating, try to target behaviors that some students are struggling with. For example, if you see some students looking away from the screen or talking, focus on narrating those who are silent with their eyes on you. When possible, narrate students who typically struggle with a particular behavior, so to increase their positive to negative interactions ratio. Let's check back in with the Fox family. In this video, while you watch a short clip of mentor time, this is actually the same mentor time that we saw from earlier. How does Ms. Fox narrate the precise behaviors she wants scholars to be doing?
It might affect our focus and our attention. Great job, Celeste. All right, perfect. So, Ms. Fox, I am now looking for a scholar to give me a thumb up their chin when they would like to share their greeting that they do with their family.
Well, Ms. Lee, I know you're looking for friends that are engaged in our computer classroom. So friends just like Charlotte who are sitting up tall, camera sees their face. Friends who've put aside any materials, so their hands are empty, just like Grace. Just like Maron, her hands are empty. Fiona's hands are empty. Layla's hands are empty. Zanaya's hands are now empty.
Okay, what did you notice about Miss Lee and Miss Fox's positive narration? I know that was a brief video. Very crisp. Yep. The first thing that Miss Fox probably noticed, I don't know if you did, was the scholar brushing her hair. Virtual school, this happens. So she wanted hands to be free. She saw a few scholars that had picked up some random things, maybe something they saw in their room that they wanted to play with. And she said, this is the behavior I want to target. So I'm going to look for all the scholars right now in our virtual classroom that have their hands free. Instead of calling out the scholars and increasing negative interactions and maybe shaming scholars, instead, she's like, I'm just going to look for these scholars that right now have their hands free, ready to learn, and I'm going to call them out. And eventually, very quickly, you saw scholars respond. Glenn shared, stating, obvious, succinctly, without shame. Absolutely. Another thing I wanted to point out about positive narration is that it can be really easy to say, thank you for doing this, but try to keep it very neutral. What the scholar's name and what they are doing. Don't make it about what you want as a person. Don't make it personal. Don't say thank you for doing this. Just say Maron has her hands free. Samir has her hands free. Elle has her hands free, rather than saying thank you to make it for the teacher or make it personal. Okay, this one might be my favorite. The last step is super simple. Be joyful and celebrate success. As I'm sure you all know, teaching virtually can feel overwhelming or stressful at times. So believe it or not, remembering this one can be challenging. That's why it's important to create a list of go-to cheers and chants to celebrate scholar success. It's also critical that your behavior management system includes some kind of virtual incentive systems, whether they are school-wide or teacher-created. We have been very impressed with the creativity we've seen from our teachers. When scholars earn enough positive points, they could earn prizes such as change their Zoom name for the day, change their Zoom background for the day, change the teacher's background, teacher read aloud, get a personalized gift emailed home, and the list of amazing incentives goes on. I also want to point out that all of those were free. Finally, we encourage at least 5 positive phone calls to families each week. Even a personal text can go a long way. Okay, in this video, let's watch Miss Wall be joyful and celebrate success. What specific moves do you notice? And maybe more importantly, how do you think scholars are feeling during the small group lesson?
What? And you just walked in here and got your break it down like that? Oh my gosh, you guys might be ready for first grade. Kiss your brain, Kennedy. All right, Sadiq, coming to you. Are you ready? Look ready. Okay. Your word is ran. Fingers out.
Fingers out.
Let's sound it out.
Let's sound it out.
Your word is ran.
Ran.
Kiss your brain. Nice job. Okay, Ellis, coming to you. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Always ready.
Oh, I believe it that time. All right, Ellis, your word is rip. Fingers out.
Whip.
Fingers out.
Fingers out.
Let's sound it out.
Let's sound out.
Your word is rip.
Rip.
It's your green. Kennedy, coming to you. These are the challenge words. Challenge.
Challenge.
Snooze. Challenge.
Challenge.
There we go. All right, listen carefully so you don't get tricked.
So that video was a little different because it was actually a tour. So you might have seen some adults in the room. It was a very small group. Those scholars were receiving some very individualized instruction in phonics. But my question is, how do you think scholars are feeling during this small group lesson? If I'm a student in this classroom, I think that my teacher loves phonics. I think that my teacher loves teaching. I think that she thinks this is the most fun thing in the world. Paul, thanks. They obviously know the structural expectations and they sound encouraged. Yeah, they sound very encouraged. Glenn, yes, respected, honored, enthused. I also want to point out that in regular school, a few of these scholars really struggle to meet expectations. They really do. But they were super pumped to be sounding out some words today with Miss Wall. And that's all because of the joy that she brings to the room every day. I just want to highlight, Glenn, you said honored. I think that that's such a powerful word. Together, we've learned the 5 steps to establishing a positive virtual classroom culture. We've seen videos of teachers working these steps and reflected together. Let's review them one last time. They are: 1, build relationships virtually. 2, establish expectations for the computer classroom. 3, provide frequent, clear directions. 4, consistently narrate the positive. 5, be joyful and celebrate success. I'd love to pause to ask you all, which of these best practices are strong in your classroom or classrooms you've seen virtually? And what is one area where you want to improve? Maybe in your own practice or where you think teachers can learn the most after looking at these 5 steps. For folks that are tuning in to view this recording, this is a great pause point to ask yourself, what am I already doing well? Because I guarantee that you are, but what is one area where you really want to improve? This brings us to some really strategic work time. And my favorite part of PD, because you can get some stuff done. Before I give you some instructions on how to go into work time, I'd love for you to just take a deep breath or a stretch break so you can feel ready. I'm going to go ahead and just roll out my shoulders, maybe stretch up tall and take a deep breath. I'm also going to drink some water because I've been talking a lot. So for the next 30 minutes, you'll have the opportunity to work independently to implement one of the strategies you learned about today. The link to the worksheet is on this slide. I will also put it into the chat. The worksheet includes 3 work time options depending on what you'd like to focus on today. The first is a relationship building checklist. It's an opportunity to zoom out and think about the relationships in your classroom and implement some strategies to build relationships even more meaningfully. Step 2, or task 2, is computer classroom expectations. If you or your school does not yet have virtual learning scholar expectations, you should do this task. You can steal ours. We have an amazing cutesy little Computer Magic 5 poster that you can steal for your own classroom, or you can create your own to tailor your expectations to your classroom. And in this worksheet, you'll be able to see links to some resources to help you, along with a link to the video that we shared of Miss Vieira's lesson, where she reintroduced these expectations. Not only should you teach your scholars these expectations once, but you should reteach them all the time. And it doesn't have to take long, as we saw. And task 3 is a video analysis. If you just want to see some more videos of amazing classroom culture in action, there are 3 videos linked within this task so that you can find even more examples, different grade levels, different contents, seeing these 5 steps in actions, and there's some questions to walk you through the analysis. Again, the link to the worksheet is right here highlighted. I'm also going to put it in the chat now. You can copy this link or type it straight into your browser, and it will take you to a worksheet and navigate you through this work time. You can complete these tasks. You can complete these tasks on your own at any time. You can take as long as you need. For those who are with us here today, we are going to end the session a bit early today so that you could do the work time on your own or send it to teachers that you know. We also would love your feedback on this session. This is a new link to a survey that we'd actually like participants to take right now so we can get feedback and so we can get ideas for future content to go into our sessions for both teachers and leaders. It's an opportunity for you to share some unique needs that you know that communities that you serve or work with have, so we can be really responsive to these needs. I'll put the link in the chat now. I also want to highlight some upcoming 2020-21 sessions, specifically for teachers. The dates are listed here. We are going to dive into similar topics, and we would love to make these topics exactly what you need for your schools. You can RSVP by emailing kevin@theruralalliance.org. Jen or Kevin, is there anything you'd like to add at this time as we close out this session?
No, Kayla, thank you so much for walking through this session. We are really excited to do this session with teachers. So if there's opportunities to work alongside your teachers to do that either in one of these sessions that Kayla's listed or other opportunities, please do reach out to us. Kayla, do you mind giving your email address?
Absolutely.
in the chat. You can follow up with her. And then we have lots of other teacher and leader related content that we'd be, love to talk with you about. So please reach out to Kevin to connect and to RSVP on the upcoming sessions, and to Kayla if you have any questions. And thank you guys so much for joining and for your engagement.